ever wanted to make your very own homemade salve, but every time you look on the back of the label, you see infused oil and you have no idea what that means? Well, today I'm going to show you the first step in learning how to make an infused oil. My name is Amanda and I'm from the Wild Herbal, and we are going to make comfrey infused oil. So, first thing you're going to need is the herb. You're going to need a good high quality oil. I prefer to use olive oil, a high quality that I know that's actually genuine. You're looking for olive oil, looking for something that's first cold pressed, and possibly if you can find a harvest date on there, then you know it's not too old. So this one was a couple months ago. If olive oil is over a year old, it starts getting rancid and it's not the best quality, and that's going to make your herbal quality not as good as well. You can also use coconut oil, almond oil, avocado oil. I've never tried with that one. Those are some other things you can use as well. And you're also going to need a mason jar or a container to put it in. You will also need a scale. You're going to need something to measure your olive oil on, and I'm really messy, so I also like to have a canning funnel to help. And also I have some labels that we're going to put on our jar a little bit later. Okay, so to get started, most infused oils are made with either 1:5 ratio. That means a 1 ratio of herb to 5 ratios of olive oil, all the way up to 1 ounce of herb to like 10 ounces of olive oil. So it can vary. I personally like to do a 1:5 or even less if I can get away with that. But today we're using comfrey root, which kind of looks like that. It sucks up oil and liquid a lot. So it's very difficult to get for me to get a really strong or potent oil that's like a 1:2 ratio. If you want, you can experiment. You can take the comfrey root and you can grind it into a powder, and then you can strain it that way and you can get it more potent. But I think 1:5 is good for my oils, and I don't like dealing with powder very often because it's more difficult to strain. So let's get started. So we're going to go ahead and turn our scale on. We're going to be using ounces today, and I want to make 10 ounces of oil. So I'm going to use 2 ounces of my comfrey. So I'm going to put my scale here, and I press tarde so that it has my measurement of my glass on there, and I'm going to go ahead and put 2 ounces. It doesn't have to be perfect. Sometimes you go a little bit over. It's not a big deal. So I have that, and now I'm not going to weigh my olive oil. I'm going to measure it, and I'm going to do 10 ounces of olive oil. So I need it's almost 300 milliliters of oil that I'm going to put in here. So it's technically like 295 or 296, but it's almost 300, so it's close enough. For the most part, you can eyeball different things. I'm going to go ahead and you can turn off your scale at this point because you don't need it anymore. I'm going to pour my olive oil into my comfrey. So what we're making is called an infused oil. There are multiple ways of doing infused oils. You can do them on the stove. You can do them, people have done them in the oven. You can do them in a slow cooker. I prefer just to do it this way. It's a lot easier. I'm not having to use anything hot. And depending on what type of herb you're making, the heat can degrade vitamins and minerals. So that's something you want to look into. So some herbs that are okay to heat, and then others are not. And also, if you notice that we used a dried comfrey root, I did not use fresh. So if you use fresh, you do have to pay more attention to your olive oil content, to your ratio contents. Fresh herbs have water. So if I was using fresh herbs, I would not want to cap this right away. I would want to leave it uncapped and probably to sit in the sun and let some of that water evaporate. But because this is dried, it's not something I have to worry about. So it is honestly as simple as that. Then we're going to shake this up and we will label it. So a couple things to put on your labels. You want to put what herb oil it is. I like to put the ratio. This is a 1:5 ratio, and also the date. So I stick that on the top or on the side, depending on if anything is oily. You shake it up and you need to put it in a dark space. And every day or a couple times a day, if you just come by and shake it up. And then at the end of 2 weeks, you can strain it through some cheesecloth and you'll store your infused oil in a dark amber bottle or a dark cobalt bottle or something that it doesn't allow the sun to get to, and also store it in a place that there's not any heat, because that will also make your oil go bad. So that is it. Then you can enjoy your nice fresh oil in 2 weeks. If you come back in a few weeks, I'll tell you how to take your infused oil that we just made and turn it into a nice salve that you can use for a lot of different ailments.